What's up, everyone, and welcome to the SGG Podcast.
For the what podcast?
Serious Gentleman Gaming Podcast, brought to you by the ASOTV Podcast. For video game soundtracks, I'm your host Dom, aka Zista. With me, Mike, aka Thildren,
Hi.
and John, aka Aerosmith.
He's not going to say mine because it's stupid.
Aka Aerosmith's biggest fan.
Yeah.
Close to it.
So, video game soundtracks.
Music.
Music is one of those things that you don't necessarily recognize it right away with the game. Like, you're more focused on the gameplay and what it looks like, but nobody's like, oh my god, I have to hear the soundtrack before I buy this game.
Yeah, because usually it's like a backdrop to, whatever's going on. And it's not ever at the forefront. Most of the time.
Usually not. There's a few exceptions to that.
For me, the one exception to the rule, and the entire game, the soundtrack mattered before I even considered buying it, was DuckTales Remastered. If DuckTales Remastered's Moon theme sounded like a piece of shit, I was not buying the game. The entire game came down to that one song for me. And it was phenomenal.
I mean, yeah.
All right, then.
It is so, are there any games for you guys that the soundtrack actually, like, mattered? Like, you needed it to be a good soundtrack or you wouldn't buy it?
I mean, okay, I'm going to exclude the obvious, like, Rock Bands and Guitar Hero and stuff, because if the soundtracks sucked in those, why bother?
The soundtrack is the game.
Yes. So getting those off the table, I don't know.
I would say Undertale actually sold me with the soundtrack.
Really?
Weirdly enough. Because, I heard a lot about the gameplay, but then I heard so much about the soundtrack, and I looked up some of the music in the game, and I was like, wow, this is actually pretty cool. So, I mean, I probably would have played it, but probably not as quickly, I think. I would have, waited a little while, Steam sale or whatever. But, it's got a really good soundtrack, and it definitely helped the package. Because, the game and the graphics are so sparse, because it's, old school looking pixels. So, it's not exactly a looker. Right. So it needed a good music to help create the atmosphere, I think.
The only game that the soundtrack, got me before I actually played, and I was going to get the game anyway, was FTL. Because I had heard a review, and, I looked up some of the, background musics from the game before I got it, and I was like, yeah, this is everything that, I don't even remember who the fuck reviewed it at the time, but this is definitely everything that person said, so one more, positive for it.
Yeah.
But there are plenty of games where the soundtrack made the game, memorable once getting into it. And I mean, the only one I'm going to cover really quick is Super Mario World. Because when I was a kid, soundtrack meant shit.
Right.
Really.
And you look at Super Mario World, for instance, and you look at some of the intricacies that went into the soundtrack that you didn't even pick up on, and most people still to this day don't know, but, I know John probably knows because of Mario Maker, but this existed in the Super Nintendo version of the thing. Depending on whether or not you were riding Yoshi, added a whole section of drums to every single song.
It added another track layered on.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's just the game went to this crazy extra level to audibly change something for you based on what you were doing in the game.
It's so ingrained at this point. Any song from that game play and I'm instantly thinking of Super Mario World, and I never realized the impact it had on me when I was younger, but
you know what's funny? And I just was talking about this before the show, was I started playing they released it on the Virtual Console for the new 3DS, Mario World. And I was playing with headphones on the ferry the other day, and I actually never noticed this, but during the Invincibility song, I never heard it, but in my left ear, I heard little 16th notes on the hi hat during the during the song, and I never heard that before in my entire life. I was like, wait,
That's
and I
actually
turned the volume up. I was like, wow. I was like, I didn't know that was because usually like thing, and I
Yeah.
was like, there's an actual hi hat track there. I was like, that's different.
but the Super
It's
Nintendo did a
been there.
lot of that. And I'm gonna bring up a game that I don't know if everybody played, Primal Rage.
Oh my
Yes.
god.
Now,
Yes.
that game was for the Genesis and for the Super Nintendo. John had it for the Genesis, I had it for the SNES.
Yes.
Now, that because of that, I noticed something about the sound at a very young age. I was very proud of myself thinking back on it. At a young age, I noticed the difference in the sound engines between the SNES and the Genesis.
Yeah.
That the SNES was, the Genesis was an utter piece of shit by comparison. Yeah, it had memorable soundtracks and memorable sound effects, but it did not. I'm guessing it was processing power, or like I think the SNES was 16-bit, or I don't really know what it was. I could probably Google it and figure it out by now.
Super
But
Nintendo was definitely 16-bit. I know that much.
the
I don't know what Genesis
music, the
was.
background fight music in Primal Rage for the SNES was amazing. And I'm like, oh my god, dude, you got to hear the track for this song. And I booted up on his Genesis at his house, and I'm like, and then it's just like this really weird, like staticky sounding thing. I'm like, not staticky, but like just
Yeah.
like half quality. I'm like, what the hell's going on here? And so I started, doing comparisons with other games that were on both systems, and it's like, the same thing held true for everyone. The music was far better on the SNES.
Well, I remember because back around the time of Nintendo 64 and stuff, I was really big into like watching WWF wrestling and stuff
Mm-hmm.
like that. And you'd go and you'd get like the WWF games like WWF No Mercy and all these games, and they have like they're trying to like use the Rock's theme song from the TV, and they put it in the game, and it's all like half quality garbled awfulness
Yeah.
because it's on a cartridge.
I can press the
And
shit
they're
out
like
of it.
30-second samples, and like it's like that they don't run down to the ring in 30 seconds, and they're like looping it, and it sounds really weird and awful. And I just remember when when the I think it was THQ got the rights to it, they started making the SmackDown series on PlayStation, and all of a sudden it's like actual good quality music, and I was just like, oh my god, this is incredible.
Oh yeah.
So
I mean,
sometimes the music does completely change your opinion on the game,
and it's funny because I was trying to think of times where like, obviously where music drew me in, but then like where music like pushed me away from a game.
Go on.
Um, and I had a really hard time figuring it, like thinking about it, but like for some reason, what the hell was it called now? I think it was Vector Man 2.
Okay.
Okay.
Some of the songs in that game were just like, no, please go away. Like there was this, I remember there being this bog level, and I hated the level, but I hated hearing the song even more. And I don't know if it's just because I hated the level so much, and I just associated that music with pain. But I like for some reason when I was a kid, I was like, I used to mute the TV to play. It used to bother the shit out of me so much, and I don't know why. I kind of want to go back and play it and just see like if it's actually bad or if it was like I said, I'm just like pain sounds.
Right.
Pull it up on YouTube, like search Vector Man 2 soundtrack and see if you can find it.
Yeah,
I
I
mean,
don't know.
sometimes that's just what it is. It's so frustrating, and you're just like any little bit. It's the same way. Like if you're in the middle of doing something, whether you die at that point or not, somebody walks in your room and is like, "Hey, how's it going?" You're just get the fuck out of here. Like it's the same thing, So
Yeah,
it's just that constant repetitiveness, though. It starts grinding away on you. Be it that, or it's just somebody comes in and bothers you at the wrong time, and anything's about to set you off at that point. So that
yeah.
might just be the frustration of the game.
You know what still sets me off? The boss music from Sonic the Hedgehog. I forget which one it was, 2 or 3. Oh god, that one. Yeah.
That was funny too.
That's two.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, that
That's two.
sucked.
But
I mean,
funny enough, I wanted to bring up Sonic the Hedgehog because Sonic the Hedgehog had this weird rumor going around forever for Sonic 3 that Michael Jackson actually composed a lot of the music for that game.
Mm-hmm.
And it was dismissed many times. It was said that he had worked on some stuff and it all got scrapped and it never made it into the game. And just recently, there was actually something going around. I remember clicking an article that was trending in Facebook, and it brought this back to my attention again that he, in fact, did get his music in the game.
Mm-hmm.
And you look at some of the tracks like Ice Cap Zone, which is my favorite track in Sonic 3.
It is definitely one of the tops.
It's
Um,
great.
it's got elements of Smooth Criminal in it, and it has elements of Who Is It? You know, obviously, Smooth Criminal is the more popular of the two Michael Jackson songs. But
Yeah.
you listen to them back to back, and you hear elements of Ice Cap Zone in there very faintly. Like, Who Is It has mainly like the bass line kind of in the background, and Smooth Criminal has more of like the beat. So
Yeah.
it's like it's a weird blend. You have Michael Jackson's song Jam, which is basically Carnival Night Zone.
Yeah.
Like that one is probably the most obvious, other than the Knuckles theme song is Blood is on the Dance Floor, and you hear those drums. Like those drums are exact. You know those Knuckles drums because that's all his theme song was at the start. It's just those drums coming right in. You're just like, oh my god, it's Knuckles.
Mm-hmm.
But you listen to Blood is on the Dance Floor, and you're like, okay, that's Knuckles. So
You know, I'm looking this up right now just to see, because I remember half the tracks are going through my head, and they changed the Wikipedia page. The top list of composers, Michael Jackson is at the top of the list now
yeah.
for Sonic 3.
Yeah, I mean the credits theme is Stranger in Moscow. Launch Base Act 1 is Speed Demon. So there's definitely more, but those are the most notable and the most recognizable out of all of them. And I think it's crazy that it took so long for this information to come out.
Oh yeah. I mean, it was denied and denied and denied, like over and over and over again.
Yep.
I mean, finally, it's like, yeah, but like, it was so obvious. Like, even if you didn't finish it, you definitely worked on it, dude.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Yeah. I mean,
there's no way
it
in
was at the
hell.
point where he said he wanted his name taken off of it because the quality of the music, like, because Mike just got through saying how the Genesis music didn't sound that great.
They got
You know,
better. Like, I think they learned more tricks to making it sound better, because Sonic the Hedgehog soundtracks were always fantastic.
Yeah, they
Yeah.
were.
Sorry.
I mean, Sonic's Invincibility theme song is about as classic as the regular Mario Brothers theme song. It's about as iconic as that. So,
You know what's funny though? I will say that I didn't like the music as much in Sonic 3 until you locked it on with Sonic and Knuckles.
yeah.
Because the Sonic and Knuckles invincibility track and all that crap was a lot better.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I think I will say that Knuckles theme was better in the normal Sonic 3, but in Sonic and Knuckles, I could not stand the invincibility track in Sonic 3 alone. I had to put Sonic and Knuckles on because it just drove me fucking nuts. But
Even if you only want to play through Sonic 3, you still attach the
I
credits.
had to because it was this weird friggin' reggae thing. I'm like, that's not it.
Yeah.
That's not it.
No,
No, that was Sonic and Knuckles.
Yeah, no, that's the good one.
Yeah, that's a good one. But yeah, it was really funny but that was an interesting thought that like you could actually change the soundtrack based on how you wanted to play it, which was I think kind of neat.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But I mean, either way, those games had amazing music in them.
Yeah.
I think the only blemish in that game was Sky Battery the stage in that one. Is that the ship one? Or is that Sonic 2 that was called? I know the stage I'm thinking of. Or Flying Battery.
The Flying Battery
Flying
was
Battery.
Sonic and Knuckles.
Yeah, that one, that's like the one stage's music I didn't love.
Yeah. I mean, granted, Michael Jackson's not on every single track. And a lot of the composers of the game has gone on record saying that they've never even played the game, so they don't know what made it in and what didn't. So they couldn't confirm or deny whether or not their tracks versus Jackson's made it into the game.
Wow.
'Cause most of the time, composers aren't people who play video games. Not all of them.
A good portion, yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
So.
Huh.
I don't know. I think some of the most classic ones, though, besides Mario, would be Metroid, Star Fox,
Yes.
Pokemon, Kirby, and of course Zelda. And
How could you go wrong?
the fact that when I list the most memorable ones, and every single one that I just mentioned is a Nintendo game, that says something.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. I'm thinking through. Most of the memorable ones involve one of those franchises in some way, shape, or form.
I mean, but you look at soundtracks from recent games, and just in the last year, like John mentioned, Undertale, or the last year or two, whatever. Yeah, Undertale, was great. Fallout 4, phenomenal.
Get FTL is really good. A lot of indie games are coming out with great soundtracks now.
Yeah, like Shovel Knight has
Shovel
amazing
Knight
music.
is amazing.
Yeah. Jake Kaufman did a
Jake
swell
Kaufman,
job.
phenomenal, and he did DuckTales Remastered as well.
Yes, I was going to say that. Yeah.
Yeah.
He's good at what he does. I mean, but right, and the funny thing is, I think that these modern games that are doing this are like kind of almost, I feel like, following Nintendo's old way, because like a lot of them, because Jake said himself, like, Contra and Zelda and Metroid, like, this I wanted a Contra vibe, this I wanted a Castlevania vibe, like it's all there. It's all old Nintendo games that are coming through their influences.
Yeah. I mean, and you look at, like, Mike just mentioned indie games and stuff like that. Look at Rocket League. Rocket League has a phenomenal soundtrack.
Yeah.
Even if you're not a fan of that franchise, like that sports or racing, whatever, you combine the two, it's fun as shit. I don't care which way you want to spin that. And having a phenomenal soundtrack only helps the game that much more. And then the other one that I'm about to mention from this year that came out was Metal Gear Solid 5.
Yeah, Metal Gear Solid always did go for good soundtracks.
Metal Gear's been phenomenal with all of them. I think my favorite Metal Gear song ever is the intro theme from Metal Gear Solid 2. It's kind of got this little bit of a remix of the classic theme.
Oh,
it's still the same theme. It's got this one weird little like remix breakdown toward the start of it, and it's just like I don't know, I really liked it. But we were mentioning composers, and I think besides Jake Kaufman, one of my more recent favorites, I don't want to say recent because he's been around for a while, went back as far as doing, if you guys ever played Castle of Illusion starring Mickey Mouse for NES.
Oh, yeah.
For NES.
Was it NES? Castle of Illusion? No, Castle of Illusion wasn't NES, was it?
I'm
I'm thinking Mickey Mouse Capades. What the hell was Castle of Illusion?
Oh, boy. Could that have been Game Boy?
Sega Genesis.
Was it Sega? Yeah.
Yeah.
Sega I think it was on Super Nintendo as well.
It may have been, but Sega Genesis, Game Gear, and Sega Saturn. According to this, was all it was released on. Huh.
Yeah.
Well.
Yeah. Well, I'm talking about Grant Kirkhope. He started with that. That was his first one, and he did GoldenEye 007.
Okay.
He did both Banjo-Kazooie, Banjo-Tooie, Donkey Kong 64, Perfect Dark, and they even grabbed him for Ukulele.
Oh, that's going to be exciting.
Yeah.
Which can only mean good things.
Mm-hmm. And he even guest stars on the Super Beard Bros little side project boy band that they created, the Big Bad Bosses. He's on a track called Birds and Bears. And he's basically like, I'm motherfucking Grant Kirkhope, like through the whole song, like he's the shit. And the track is phenomenal.
It's really funny.
So.
Yeah, he's one of the greats, I would say. They actually got the woman who did the original Mega Man soundtracks to do Propeller Knight's song or Propeller Knight's stage song in Shovel Knight, as a matter of fact. So these people still like kind of blooping around once in a while, you know?
I mean, one of the big ones for me, I had to look up how to say his name. That's why I'm looking down at my phone here. Nobu Uematsu. And he's the composer for like half of the Final Fantasy games.
Okay, yeah.
I mean, Final Fantasy in general, you don't even have to mention a game in particular. The fucking soundtrack on all of them is
I'm just looking. Okay.
Yeah.
Final Fantasy 2, the Final Fantasy Legend, Final Fantasy 3, 4, 5, 6, wow, Chrono Trigger, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. He's pretty much composed every Final Fantasy up to 12, it looks like, according to what I'm reading here. Yeah, and the movie. But yeah,
Well,
at
there you
Final
go.
Fantasy, what is the most memorable Final Fantasy song for all of you?
the
Da, da,
opening.
da, 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 da.
Aside from that, the opening piano bit from Final Fantasy X.
Well,
Yeah,
the prelude is in every Final Fantasy.
yeah.
So that's as iconic as the fanfare at that point. So
And that song was
besides
written in
those
like
two
10
tracks that
minutes.
exist in every single game. Like, can you? For me, is 7 is One Winged Angel. You know, the Sephiroth theme.
No, the one
I
I'm thinking
mean,
of was only in 10, to Zanarkand.
Okay, so you're thinking piano theme when the game actually starts, not the piano theme of the title screen.
Oh yeah, not the title screen. I'm sorry. My
Yeah.
bad.
It's like the title screen, that's the same piano song that's in every single Final Fantasy game.
It's, you know what? That, as you said, One Winged Angel, and whatever the hell the name of that song is for the opening cinematic of 8.
Mm-hmm.
That's, those are the iconic 3 for me. For Final Fantasy.
I don't know, when... Do you have one, John? Are you big into Final Fantasy?
no.
No?
I mean, that's the thing.
I'm
I
picking John's favorite right now. I'm just going to take a stab in the dark. It's going to be the Chocobo theme.
might as well be.
Because the Chocobos, that's like the only other iconic one it's been all the way in the first Final Fantasy. I think
I
2
do.
is...
I will say I do like the the interlude that's kind of been on all of the games.
Right.
But Final Fantasy, funny enough,
Even Mario RPG, the
Thank
Kulik
you.
battle music is
I was
from
just-
Final Fantasy.
I was just gonna
Yeah.
say, Square Enix soundtrack John would be familiar with. The whole soundtrack to Super Mario
whole
RPG.
sense of Super Mario RPG. Then the Forest one.
Do 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 do.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's stuck
That
in my
one's
head
good.
now. Fuck. I love that song.
Honestly, a lot of the reason I know the Final Fantasy music is from Smooth the Groove from like the old games.
Yeah, you know what? He's. If you're not familiar with older games, definitely check his channel out because he does
He'll
a
learn
lot
you a
of them.
thing.
He'll learn
Well-
you a thing or two.
Another Square game that had a phenomenal soundtrack was Kingdom Hearts. Right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm not even talking about the fact that they had access to Disney music. Like, the Disney music was great, like going to the Under the Sea levels and hearing Under the Sea playing. It's phenomenal, but it's some of the original, like, the title song, Simple and Clean, like, that song, I still, like, hum that thing from time to time.
Oh yeah.
But my favorite song from Kingdom Hearts was the track Destai, which to me sounds very much like John Williams' Duel of Fates, from Star Wars. Episode, was it 1? Yeah.
Yeah.
Couldn't think if it was 1 or 2, but it was
Good
1.
part of that movie.
Yeah. I mean, that's the only good thing that came out of Star Wars Episode 1 was that song.
And Darth Maul.
Maybe. But Destai has a very Duel of Fates kind of sound to it, and I think that's what draws me to that song.
Yeah. Yeah, I could see that.
Alright, yeah.
I have one game that I think, even though you may not have all played, you can't disagree with, and it's one that you wouldn't even think of immediately. Parappa the Rapper.
Yeah, I didn't
I
play that.
know so little about that game.
So do I, and that's
I know what the
bad.
box art looks like. I
Yeah, me
know
too.
nothing. I don't even know what that game is. I'm gonna be
No,
honest.
no,
No,
you've
I
never
don't even know
played
how you
that.
play it. I don't know what it is. I avoided it like the plague when I was a kid.
It was basically DDR for the PlayStation where you button
Uh,
mash, and it's like, but instead of like hit triangle, it's like your buttons are assigned to different things. So it's like kick, punch,
oh,
pose, duck, jump. Like you had all different buttons, and the guy would be rapping, and you'd be doing these things, and like so it'd be like now kick, and you just like start mashing kick, and the different ways you'd hit the button, he'd be like. You could just hit it once, like he said, and you just repeat kick, or you could remix it and mash the button a few times and be like kick, 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 and I don't know, it was cool the way he used to play it, and it
yeah.
was a lot of fun. If you've never played Rap of the Rapper, you need to find a way to dig out a copy somewhere. I don't know if it's on the PlayStation Network or anything. You gotta get a copy of this game. It was the best. I didn't own it, but I borrowed it from my friend so many times. Like every time I had a chance to borrow this game, he's like, "Oh, you want to borrow one of my games? What do you want to borrow?" It was the same game every time. It was Power Rap of the Rapper. So
I don't know. I remember I remember seeing advertisements in it, like gaming magazines, and just like furiously flick to the next page. Like, I don't know why. When I was a kid, I had like a visceral hatred of that game. Doesn't make any sense. Doesn't make any fucking sense. I also didn't own a PlayStation, so that didn't help.
Yeah, that
But
would probably help.
that would help. But like, I every time I saw that game, I was like, no, stupid. I have no explanation for you as to why that is.
you not a fan of rap music, John? That might be why.
I'm not, but there was no reason for that.
Yeah,
There was no reason.
when it's Power Rap of the Rapper, it's the closest. It's probably closer to hip hop than it is rap, but
Yeah.
it was definitely. I don't know. I love that game. Loved everything about that
I
game.
never played that game. I know someone who had it and I'd seen it played, but I never actually played it myself.
Mm.
And I'm trying to. And I owned a PlayStation, but I mean, my PlayStation game library wasn't exactly huge. I mean, talking Spyro the Dragon and Crash Bandicoot and stuff like that.
Crash Bandicoot. That game had some great music too, but the one it's not even a song that sticks out. It's
The Mask.
that the mask.
Boogada boogada boo.
Oh, I'm
Uh,
gonna
yeah,
whatever.
however
Like,
it goes.
yeah, it's just like oh my god. Every time I think of Crash Bandicoot, that comes into my head. So, um, yeah, I don't know. What about Harvest Moon? You guys play Harvest Moon?
Nikki
No, but
does.
I know the music is amazing in that game.
Yeah, music's phenomenal.
Mm-hmm. Harvest Moon.
I did want to also bring up the Mega Man X series, specifically 1 and 2.
3 had a couple of gems, but 1 and 2 were pretty much.
Like just the most rockin' shit when we were kids. Like,
I'm trying to think. I don't think there was a.
When are they gonna come out with a Mega Man X collection like this?
I mean, they have for the GameCube and PlayStation 2, X1 through 6.
Yeah, but I want it with a gold amiibo.
Well, give them time.
We'll give Capcom a chance to start respecting Mega Man again, and we'll talk. But no, specifically Mega Man X. But like friggin', especially X2. I think I like X2 soundtrack better because they really understood the system better. But man, there was some like crazy friggin' speed metal in that game.
Yeah.
Like it was super friggin' good.
I see Savannah in chat is talking about Dreamcast. Can you guys imagine playing a game like Crazy Taxi without the soundtrack that was in that game?
Oh my
Oh
god.
god, no.
Crazy
That's-
Taxi. I mean, Tony Hawk's Pro Skater, but that's because they use actual songs.
Yeah,
Yeah.
well, they did the same for Crazy
Yeah,
Taxi.
for Crazy-
That's
yeah.
like all Offspring and Bad Religion and
There was a
songs like
yeah.
that.
So that yeah, they used actual real music in those, and that's probably what helped a lot. Crazy Taxi was fantastic.
Crazy Taxi would not be the same game without that soundtrack. I'm telling you right now.
Yeah.
Nobody could think of going into the arcade game. The arcade. If you ever played Crazy Taxi in the arcade, which I'm hoping you did,
First time I
sitting
played
down
it.
at that thing, putting your coins in, getting ready to go, and it's like 3, 2, 1, go, and it's just like yeah, 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 yeah. You're just fucking driving everywhere. Like,
It helped that they started you off at the top of a really big fucking hill.
of course.
It's like, yeah, fly down the hill. Let's just, fly as fast as we can over. Oh, look, they're paying you money because you're flying through the air and potentially going to die.
Yeah.
There was something wrong with every single person in that city.
Yeah.
Like, psychological study there, because holy crap.
But have you guys ever run across a game that's just like the soundtrack is so bad you can't play it?
The soundtrack is so bad that I can't play it.
I should have an example for this, but I'm drawing a blank.
Or even one, like John mentioned, he had one level that had a song that would drive him insane. Is there anything like that?
Yeah, I can't think of full games that like I was just like no. I'm trying to think.
For me, if you guys ever played, John, Mike probably hasn't. John, if you ever played Yoshi's New Island,
Oh,
the
yes, I
Yoshi
have.
Clan song.
It's not very good.
No, it's really, really,
It's
really
really
bad.
annoying.
It's like Nintendo's usually really good with songs, and that. It's like you look at like games that came like look at Splatoon. Splatoon's got a phenomenal soundtrack.
Oh yeah,
And then you look at that song and you're like, Nintendo, what is going on?
Mm-hmm.
So
I'm actually familiar with that now. Yeah,
Some of the music in Sonic Adventure 2 was just really because it's like cringy butt rock.
Yeah, there were a couple of songs that were
Just like,
really weird.
Like Rouge's theme, just no. He's just made me embarrassed.
Otherwise, it had great music, but
some of it was cool. Like the final fight thing with the Perfect Chaos was like got you pumped.
Mm-hmm.
The words were stupid. It was like, oh, I'm gonna kill the demon in space. Yeah, you felt cool when you were 10. But yeah, there were some like really cringy songs in the Sonic Adventure series that I wish would go away.
Mm-hmm.
As far as I'm concerned, Sonic the Hedgehog hasn't existed since Sonic the Hedgehog 3 and Knuckles.
That's a really grim way of looking at it.
It is a grim way of looking at it.
I mean, actually, I might take up that policy, not gonna lie. That might be not a bad idea.
I don't know. I liked Adventure 1 and 2, so I mean, I'm not going to...
I enjoyed myself with them.
I did enjoy myself a lot with them, but...
Looking back, they're not great, but music-wise, there was a significant drop-off after the Sega games. I mean, there really was. It was just not the same after that, because they went to, like, they wanted to do, like, a rock track, and it just,
Well, there was a lot of tracks, too, that from the, clearly Michael Jackson had part in, like, going back to that again, but when the game was re-released on, like the Mega Collections and stuff like that, a lot of the music was changed. It's all different music.
And it wasn't as good.
So you wonder how much of it had copyrights that couldn't get renewed, and, things like that. So
that makes sense. Okay.
Yeah.
Sev wants us to notice her choices in chat.
Omicron, the Nomad Soul, and Blue Stinger from Dreamcast.
Mm.
Blue Stinger makes me think of Big Blue, which makes me think of F-Zero, another Nintendo staple.
Great music.
But if I had to bring up one, in this game, the first one, because there's two of them now, this game really set the mood and just contributed to the whole game as a whole, and that is Orcs Must Die. The soundtrack to that game was fantastic. It fit. It was amazing battle music, and it really put you in the must slay orcs kind of mood. I mean, yeah.
I'm trying to think of another game. Like, I don't know if you guys ever played Bastion.
No.
But that game had this cool fusion of like hip hop with acoustic slide guitar.
Mm-hmm.
And it's really fucking good.
Okay.
But that soundtrack for that game really, really drew me in. That with the narration, um, it really just gave the game like a really cool feel. It made it feel like the Old West, but at the same time, it was a very modern sort of thing because of like the drum track was like more hip hop, and it was mind blowingly good. That was from Supergiant Games. And then actually, speaking of them, Transistor. I really like that game was more based on the music because the main character in the game was a singer who lost her voice. So her songs were playing throughout the game, and the cool thing was, which I kind of like it goes back to a boy and its blob in that game, where like if you press down on the controller, you just hug the little blob. It was adorable. Um, in that game, if you held a button on the controller, she would hum to the music, like she would hum her vocal melody.
Hmm.
So the coolest part about that was at the end of the game, she got her voice back, so she could sing. Um, and you actually got to hear the singer's, her actual voice in like the last song of the game, which is really cool. So that was a game where they really tied it to the music, I think, a little bit more, where it was about. I mean, I'm not going to go too much into the story, but that game was gorgeous, and they really did a good job of making the music suit that. And then letting like we were talking about with like Yoshi when in Mario World, like you add a vocal track to the song whenever you feel like it,
Right.
which is really really cool. So there were times where I would just sit and just like listen to her hum the melody a little bit. So that was a hugely important part of the game for me. And by the way, if you haven't played that, for the love of God, please play the game.
Yeah, I'll have to look into it.
So those were games that like the music just sold, because like those are, I mean, especially Bastion, I bought the shit out of that soundtrack. I don't buy video game soundtracks. That never usually happens for me.
Not
But
unless,
that game,
yeah.
bought that.
Not unless it already came with like a special edition or something. Like
Right.
between my wife and I, we have most of the World of Warcraft soundtracks.
Those are phenomenal.
Yeah.
Oh God,
Warcraft's
yeah.
got some great music.
Blizzard hires orchestras. I mean, they better.
Yeah, they know where to go to get their own good, unique, composed music and stuff for that. So
Yeah. They're kind of a different beast of their own.
yeah,
They're almost in their own league because they're not composing video game music per se,
No, it's like movie scores.
which is going to be really interesting for the movie because the movie's not going to have to come up with any original scores.
No.
oh, they're going to probably.
Oh, I'm not saying that they're
yeah.
not going to, but I'm saying they
But-
don't need to.
There'll be plenty to draw upon.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
They might just like rearrange, some of the stuff to give it a fresh kind of take. But they may come up with their own songs exclusively for the movies as well. Who knows?
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I don't know. I don't have any other ones to talk about. Do you guys?
Oh, let me see. What were the three I wanted to mention? I wanted to mention Super Mario RPG, which we did. Orcs Must Die. Drawing a blank.
The last one I had that I didn't really get to say was Guilty Gear.
Oh, yeah.
That game's got some rockin' shit, man.
Yeah.
Like, that's another one where I downloaded the soundtrack because, like, holy God, that game's got some really
Yeah.
cool metal and power metal and just straight up rock. That game had some awesome music in it.
Guilty Gear X2 was the one I played
Yes.
first, and that game had amazing music. Like
Chip's theme and Soul's theme were just
yeah.
it's gonna be a good time.
It was a Japanese fighting game. A lot of Japanese fighting games have good fucking soundtracks, so, I mean...
Yeah, but especially Guilty Gear.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think there's a lot of games that hold a candle to that
yeah,
game's
they
soundtrack.
nailed it with that one.
So good.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, like, just... It felt a lot like Mega Man X2, I think, and that's why I liked it so
probably
much.
why you
It's
liked it.
Friggin' speed metal. I was
There's
like, yeah,
another
no,
game that nailed it.
I like to fight bitches to this.
How's the soundtrack coming along for the Mighty Number 9?
Funny you should mention that. Uh, I don't remember, and that's exactly the point. I played the demo. I remember nothing about the music.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So,
And I'm
It's
drawing a
very
blank on
cool.
my last one, so I'm just gonna say skip it.
I'm trying to think if I had any other ones, but yeah, no, that was basically it. Guilty Gear was a big one though, because
Yeah.
actually, I think Mike, you showed me that game when we were younger,
A friend of mine showed me that game, and then I borrowed it, and then I showed it to you.
and I was like, "The shit rocks." Also, it's an amazing game.
Yeah.
So,
I was going through a fighting game phase at that time with like Marvel vs. Capcom 2 and then Soul Calibur and all that. Like,
yeah,
so it was like, oh, you like you like fighting games? You should try Guilty Gear. I'm like, what the hell is Guilty Gear? And I saw it. I'm like, I don't know if I'm gonna like this. And I played it. And I'm like, I really like this.
uh-huh.
But
Yeah, that game, the music really, because as soon as that game boots up, it's just like, big rock soundtrack. So that was, and that was a funny thing. It's like I for a while you really hadn't heard like serious original like rock music in a game.
Yeah.
So that wasn't like Sonic garbage rock.
Not even like Brutal Legend featuring Jack Black.
Well, no, but that was way later.
Yeah, yeah.
That game did have good music though. But also Ozzy was in it, so how could it be bad?
What about another Blizzard game? Rock and Roll Racing.
Oh
Used
god.
like MIDI samples of
Yeah. The
classic
MIDI.
rock songs.
Yeah.
You know,
The MIDI Paranoid. Oh.
MIDI Paranoid was the best.
It was something, all right.
It was definitely something.
The best. The best soundtrack on. It's the best song on that game.
Oh yeah.
Hands down.
I'll give it to it.
Oh yeah, that had some numbers on it.
Thank you, Sev. Twisted Metal. The Twisted Metal series.
God, yes, Twisted Metal.
That's not what I wanted to mention, but that is a great one right there.
Yes.
Yeah, and when it comes to racing games in general, a lot of them they lack their own original soundtrack. A lot of them just use whatever because it's a racing game, it's whatever. And most of the time, back when like the PlayStation 2s and Xbox 360s came out and they started putting hard drives and stuff on the thing, you would just put your own music on. I think that started with the original Xbox. You just throw your own music on because I remember playing the WWF Raw game for Xbox, and it's just like, oh, you can import your own custom music and have the wrestlers walk down to your whatever song you want, any song in the world. You can do the same thing with the racing game, Drive Club, Midnight Club, like...
One of the Grand Theft Autos, I think one of the versions of Vice City let you play your own music from the system. I think it was the Xbox one.
Yeah.
And
they,
or PS2,
they do that in like games like The Sims and stuff now. Like Sims has a pretty good soundtrack as it is.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's like you could import your own. I don't know if you can on the new ones. You might have to crack it or something like that. I haven't played a Sims game since Sims 2, but I don't know. They all had ways to import music at that point. And the only other racer that I could think of that I love the music to is Mario Kart.
Yeah, Mario Kart's got good music. Wipeout
The original
had great
Mario
music.
Kart from Super Nintendo, the beach song. I love that song so much.
But that's a Mario game, and I mean, I've been sitting here thinking of a whole bunch of songs, and I'm coming up with like 2 or 3 of them from Super Mario 64. And I'm just like, nope, that's a Mario game. We already covered all that. Like, we've already established that most Mario games have good friggin' soundtracks.
They do, but here's the comparison from Mario 64 versus the original Mario is the underwater themes. Underwater theme drives people insane in the original Super Mario Brothers.
Yeah.
In Mario 64, it's like the most beautifully arranged song on the entire soundtrack.
Yeah.
You can't even hate the underwater levels because
it's
the
super
music's
chill.
so good.
It really is chill. Oh,
you know
God.
what game?
I want to go play.
All right, I can't think of the name of it. What was the game that used your music? That was like a shoot 'em up game. What game was that?
There was one on Steam. It was an indie game where, oh God, I gotta look it up right now. I gotta open my Steam and look because it was a game where the level changed based on the song. Like you loaded in an MP3 file,
Yeah.
or a WAV file or any of those files, and the whole game, Beat Hazard. There it
Beat
is.
Hazard. Thank you. Yes.
Because that whole the level changed based on your song.
Right.
And
That game was nuts.
yeah, if you played a slow, like boring song, the game would be slow and boring, and your ship, because it was like sort of like an asteroid sort of thing, your ship shot. Like its weapons were based on the beat of the song and like the intensity. So if you're playing, some nice little slow piano piece or whatever, it's just like your ship's going pew 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 pew.
See, you just mentioned ship, and that instantly popped in my head. I know we already covered Kingdom Hearts, but the Gummy Ship had some of the best music in the game. Best original music, but the fucking levels were terrible. But I would play through them just to listen to the music. So
I like that part of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
I don't know.
hard mode Beat Hazard, 2112. Do it.
God.
25 minutes of pain.
I was gonna say I don't have a near half hour to kill on that game because I'm not photosensitive by any means, but I feel it after 10 minutes in that.
Like it's taxing.
Pump Dragon Force into that and see what happens.
I have. I don't recommend it.
Through the fire and the flames, we'll carry on. You guys have anything else?
Nah.
Otherwise, we could sit here all night.
There are thousands of games with great sound. There are thousands of games with good soundtracks, and then there's hundreds more with amazing soundtracks. So we could, it would be boring for us to sit here and literally list every one of them.
Yeah.
I mean, for good reason, we didn't mention the Rock Band or the, Guitar Hero series because that's all stapled in real music, and the soundtracks keep changing and DLC, and you have anything you want on those games. So
yeah, player created levels.
Yeah.
That's.
All right, so that about does it.
It does.
Yeah.
All right.
It does. Why, did you have something else you want to add?
No. I'm just adding our own music.
Okay, then.
Very
Mike,
good.
where can people find you?
They can find me on Twitter @Philidrin. It's over here. There we go.
Excellent. John, where can the people find you?
Y'all can find me at No More on Twitter. Probably tweeting about music that I like obnoxiously. That's what I do.
You can find me down below over there at XIZTA with an underscore. You can find us all and more on Twitter at Serious Gents, Twitch on Serious Gents for the live shows, and you can find us all and a whole bunch of people on youtube.com/ASOTV Podcast for hundreds of podcasts for some of your favorite TV shows, games, and movies. Till next week, where we potentially will cover Hearthstone's big announcement.
We'll see.
We will
Depending
see.
on what it is. We'll see you guys later.
Bye.
Bye.